So all in favor of the approving the minutes from the May 2nd meeting? Hello, Hans.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I am too. They're good. Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Hans. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you, Carl.
Good to see you.
Let's see. Should we introduce all of us, or how would you like to do this, Carl?
Well, I mean, I'm Carl. That's Peter Williams. Chantal Ride. Tessa, Georgia Marston, Pam Sandler, and Pete, and yourself.
Okay. How would you like to organize this? Do you want me to give some background on the project and what we're planning to do, or what would you?
Well, you've been comprehensive in your paperwork, which really makes for fascinating reading. But I don't know. Why don't you just describe what you're proposing to do there, and we'll talk from there.
Okay. So we bought the house from the Swans, and we bought they owned at one point all that land, all the buildings, and so we purchased from them about 3 years ago, and we have I guess I have always been interested in the house because of Grippa Hall, and there's my own view is that he is actually one of the important characters in the history of Stockbridge, but not as well known as some of the other famous people who lived in Stockbridge. And so and the house was really badly treated in a lot of ways. They added the addition to create a separate apartment, and and they had this water issue for a long time going through, but there's like a real mudslide which created significant damage to the foundation. And so our plan is to move it, and actually Peter can talk about the process for this, but actually move it up the hill, and we can also show you the siting of that, which we think will be a better position for it anyway. We'll be up away, you don't have all the drainage issues and everything, so it will be easier to we'll have to build a new foundation anyway, so let's do it up the hill, and we will reduce the house to the size of the original footprint when the house was built. I think at some point I'd like to do dendrochronology, which we haven't done, but that is where you can do tree ring dating to determine the exact date that the house tree, parts of the house was the wood was felled, and that allows you to date it. So the Stockbridge, as you saw, the memo from the that's in the historical room estimates that the house was built in 1830, but at Grippa Hall, that seems to me to be late, because he definitely lived there earlier than that, or seems very likely that he did. So it's possible that it could be earlier than that. But in any event, we'd shrink it just to the historic portion, move it up the hill to a new foundation, and then we would build what would become a studio, but use stone facing, so that would look like a farm type of work building, and also build a garage that would have the same type of materials. And that is the fundamental idea. So we want it to be a very, the main part of the house, the historical section, would be a very faithful restoration of that. And then we'd have a more modern use studio, but that would also be designed to look like a period type of barn building.
Hans, isn't there an existing studio building that Clover put up at some point?
That's a glass blowing studio, which is she actually has a right to remove it, and And she says she's going to, but if she doesn't move it, we'll probably put that down. That's our plan.
Yeah, I think Clover's not in a good way right now.
That's what I
Sorry
understand.
to say.
I have some more presentation questions. Are there drawings? Some of mine are upside down. They're very blurry. I can barely read them. I'm trying to figure out as an architect what's going on here. So, and I know we're not supposed to, being presenting this way is difficult, but some of the drawings are sideways, upside down. I'm just trying to figure out, the printing, when I try to blow it up, it disappears. So I'm just trying to figure out how we can have a better look at what's going on here on the drawings.
We'd be happy to take you through those if that's helpful, Hans.
Well, can you share screen with me? I bet you have pretty drawings. I know you guys do phenomenal work. But I can't see it from these, and this, yeah, thank you.
We will. We'll do that right now.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So this is the first, this is a rendering of what the exterior would look like.
Thank you.
There you go.
So the idea was the Agrippa Hull house is this really striking, eye-catching white that really draws the eye. So we thought to have the other two buildings recede in this stone language would allow Agrippa to really remain read as a separate entity, which we thought was nice. So over here, this is not completely accurately represented, but there's a beautiful old stone foundation that still exists that we think may have been part of the original farm that Agrippa ran when he was at the site. So our thinking was to actually site the garage directly over that stone wall and extend the language of the stone coming up, so that these two buildings were a continuation of another language that was already found on the site, which was this beautiful stone wall. So two very simple agrarian type stone buildings would be, as Hans said, the garage, and then the artist studio here. And then this is the historic house with a minimal covered walkway between them.
So I lived on Goodrich Street for 35 years. So I passed this house about 40,000 times probably. So I'm very familiar with it. And I'm just trying to figure out, is the part that you are tearing down in disrepair? When was that part built? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing historically. You can see we put some of the photos in.
When was that part built though, Hans?
We
The
think
addition? Or
60s, early 70s, late 60s, early 70s.
I know many people who lived there in the 60s and 70s. It was, unfortunately, some of them, yeah, Doran Held definitely lived there for a period of time.
I definitely went there. I definitely went there for brunch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A lot of people getting high over there at the Swan's Farm. Anyway.
I don't think it existed. When Rick Robbins and Arlo Guthrie lived there in 63, it wasn't there.
The addition.
The addition, yeah.
Oh, did Arlo live there?
Arlo lived there, and you remember in Cherry Cottage, there's the discussion when Arlo's talking about the toilet table. That's still there, and we're going to preserve that. So don't worry.
Oh, great.
Toilet table. Well,
Oh my gosh.
I have a question on that other rendering. Was that a side view or was it from the street?
That was from the street.
Great.
Okay.
And we're just, would it be helpful to open up some drawings? Or
Yeah, that'll be great. I'm
Sure,
looking
please.
forward to it. Thanks, Tessa.
and the site
Or
plan
anything.
might be good to show too, Tessa, too.
we'll show just one other thing, which is an existing conditions image.
That's it.
So essentially from this line where my mouse is to the right, this is a one-story garage and apartment structure that we believe was built in the 70s-ish. And that part we would intend to remove. So this portion of the house does have actually a series of additions that probably happened maybe over a span of 100 years from its construction onward. But this portion, Hans, what was the source of the historic image that you found that represented this portion?
That was from all that is from the historic room in the library, and there's basically there's a memo which was written by Lyon Miles, which talks about Agrippa Hall's land holdings, and he's the one that drew the little map on it. And then there's the two houses that they're not dated. The two pictures, we think they're 1940s, 1950s, but we don't know. And then there's the memo, which was done by somebody and I don't think that's dated. I'm looking at here. I don't see a date on that one either. No, April 79. By Carolyn Gervasi.
Oh, thank you. These drawings are wonderful. Okay, we just didn't get anything that looked like this. That was clear. Thanks.
So
Okay.
here is the dotted in the existing location.
That shows, yeah, the new spotting, yeah.
You can see the addition here. The later addition is this bar
Right.
on the right. So this section to the left, we're proposing to move directly up the hill. So
Wow.
it'll be seen from essentially the same vantage point from the street, but it will
See
be
more.
a bit more prominent, yes, up the hill. And then this would be the location of the two new stone structures.
And for access, there's an existing gravel road back up here to the studio, so we're reusing that, and with some pretty subtle grading, getting up here on a 5% grade. So I don't think it'll alter the landscape much at all. It fits in pretty naturally. And for reference, this faintly dashed line, that's where the existing studio is. So we're a little bit in front of that.
I mean, it looks like you're moving at barely 100 feet.
Yeah, let's see, this is 16th inch. Yeah, I would say under 100 feet would be.
Yeah, okay.
Can we see the other drawings?
You bet.
If you don't mind, thank you.
Oh,
So
good.
actually, I'm going to just skip forward for 1 minute. This is the existing house in its current location, and this shows the garage that we'll remove and the apartment that we will remove. So this is the existing conditions plan where it is on the street. And this is showing what we plan to retain. So the house is a hall and parlor house. So it has this central stair that divides what were the two original spaces, living and cooking. So we're really maintaining the old fireplaces inside and really the function and layout of this house as it is. And then this new studio building, we're thinking of as sort of a reimagined hall and parlor house. So it also has this central utility zone with a stair, but then one side has the painting studio with windows looking up to the
North.
woods.
Yeah.
And then one side has the living space, and then garage is down here.
Okay, wonderful.
Well, I mean, Hans, it's wonderful that you've done all the diligence on the history of the building and its owner, original owner. I mean, I find that just remarkable. But I mean, we have two considerations. When one of them is, is this a significant historic building? And the other one is, are proposed alterations going to significantly affect its historic significance? So I would venture that, it is a significant historic building. And I don't know, I mean, looking at our group here, I mean, are we all on board with that?
Yeah, I feel it's a historic building, definitely. Hans, thank you so much. I so appreciate it. And last time you came before our board, I was blown away by your presentation at that time also. And And to the board, I asked the question of if it was built in the 70s, the addition is less than 50 years old, and we really I don't know what we have to say about it.
Yeah, exactly, Pam. I think you're right. It's a bit irrelevant.
And we're bringing the original structure back to its glory, which we hope every person would come in front of us with. So those are my big.
Well, okay. So anyway, so we're,
Or
I
I have
guess,
a
agree
question.
that it's in a significant historic building. But then the question becomes, are the proposed changes and moving the structure, is that a, something that's going to alter its historic significance?
That was my question, Carl.
Yeah.
Because once you move it from where it is, where it originally was, I agree with all the restoration, it's going to be wonderful. And I understand why they want to move it. But once they move it, I think it loses its historic value because it was moved from where it was built. Even though it's on the same property, I just feel moving it is not saving the historic.
We haven't dealt with this kind of issue much, actually. Frankly, obviously, Stockbridge is full of buildings that have been moved for one reason or another over the
It
years.
seemed to have been what they did. The building I work in every day was moved.
Oh, absolutely.
And along with half the buildings on Main Street. So
Exactly.
it's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
That's part of history. Yeah.
push them around like furniture. I don't know. I mean, I haven't got an issue with that. I feel like it's still, an historic structure, and I don't care what foundation it sits on, but I don't know. Let's talk about it,
So I'll weigh in if that's okay.
please.
Being Mr. Lawyer, I'm like looking at the bylaw. And I guess I sort of see two questions related to the moving. One is, once we've decided it's a significant historic house, which I think we all correctly agree it is, the question is, as Carl alluded to, is it a substantial alteration of the significant historic house? That's what we have to decide. And that language, here's what a significant alteration is. It materially compromises the historic or architectural significance of the building, considering such factors as to the extent to which the original architectural and historic features of the building will be preserved or enhanced, the relation between those features and the design of any new construction, and the sensitivity to context, the compatibility and scale of the proposed alteration. So, well, I think Georgia makes a good point, and this is something we should think about, the moving it of 100 feet. But I think when we consider all of what has been discussed here in terms of how the original historic fabric of the house is being restored, it's only being moved 100 feet. I kind of feel like there's a reasonable basis for us to find that this alteration, if you will, of moving the house is not a bad alteration to sort of consolidate all the language of that phraseology that I just read to you. And then the other question is simply, it's interesting to look back at the definition of demolition in the bylaw, because that would be another thing. If the house is being demolished, that would be a no-no. And it just says any act of pulling down, destroying, removing, or raising of a building or commencing work of total or substantial destruction with the intent of completing same. So you at least have to pause and ask yourself, is moving the building the same as removing the building? And I would submit that it's not, that removing the building would mean, getting rid of it, maybe taking it to Timbuktu or something. But just moving it up the hill would not constitute removing it. So my tentative thought, subject to hearing from everybody else, is that It's not a substantial alteration, and we're not removing it as proposed in this application.
Yeah, I mean, I almost would say it is a substantial alteration, but it's a benign one, you know, so.
Right, and that's just a
I'm not
funny
sure we
thing
have
about the way our bylaw
category
is
for
written.
that.
Substantial alteration has like a defined meaning there, and you sort of put your finger on it, Carl. It's really, is it a bad alteration or is it a
Yeah,
benign alteration? Benign ones are not considered substantial, and which is what's prohibited, a so-called substantial.
Yeah.
And bad ones are considered substantial. So yeah, to get back to very simple language, I would say this is not a bad alteration and therefore would not be deemed substantial.
I think we're, I mean, I don't know, whatever. I mean,
Well, I also think.
I look at this and it seems like a good thing. So.
Yeah, it's also the place that it's in now is it's not a stable location because of the water drainage and land risk, you know, the mudslide. It would take a lot to make that a safe place to put the house.
Yeah.
I do have a question about the rendering compared to the floor plan, and it was more of an informational thing. It looks like there's probably going to be windows on that studio somewhere, correct?
There are, yes.
Oh, okay. They're just not shown. Okay.
So we were thinking that the front elevations would not have windows, and
Oh,
then
okay.
north is actually the back elevation.
Yeah,
Looking
I know it well. Yeah.
So that would be the studio, and then there would also be windows on this side opening out onto the shared backyard, which
Okay.
are not represented in this drawing.
Got it. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Yeah, I think Hans does make a good point about the current location being kind of risky for the long-term health of the building. And of course, frankly, the building obviously isn't in the best condition. And, you know, to a great extent, we've seen Hans's good work in the past. You know, I think he's saving a wonderful, historic, important building, and that counts to the question of, is this a good or a bad alteration?
Isn't there a portrait of Agrippa Hall in the
No,
historic?
that's the only likeness of him that exists, actually.
Yeah.
Where did you say it is?
Oh, in the historic room.
It's a picture. It's the picture in the article I attached. That's the picture. That's what
Oh
it
yeah, no, it's quite a nice picture,
Wow.
Great.
quite a nice portrait. And
lot about
what is
him,
the story
actually.
with Elizabeth Freeman's property? Is that across the street?
That's across the street, but we doubt there's in looking at it. and,
Building is probably,
gosh, it seems like it's way too late to have been that she could have built that. You know, because she died in 1830. That's
there
Agrippa.
you go.
It's great.
Yep. But Mumbet did, you know, she owned the land across the street, but I don't think she lived in that house.
Mhm. Well, we'll get around to making that movie one of these days.
But I think Agrippa Hall deserves a movie. I think he's really quite extraordinary, and yeah, I'd hope that, you know, when we finish this, that we, you know, do something with the town, or or I don't know, just get him more known to not just people in Stockbridge but elsewhere, because I think he really deserves
You know,
knowing about him.
we have an interesting and diverse and more diverse community than I think than people sometimes acknowledge.
Well, in
Anyway,
1800 it was quite diverse. Not so much anymore, but in 1800 it was.
No, well, I mean, the look at the Civil War monument, 54th Massachusetts. I mean, that's all guys from Stockbridge and Great Barrington. So
There
anyway,
are a couple of black soldiers from the 54th buried in the Stockbridge Cemetery with VA provided stones.
yeah.
And
I would,
a relative of, and I think it was a distant relative, but they also, there was a, there was Massachusetts, in its constitution prohibited slavery, and I think the Constitution was adopted in 1783. And then, but the New York didn't prohibit slavery until 1807 or something. And so an a slave from Kinderhook escaped and lived, was housed surreptitiously by Agrippa and his wife at the house. I just read that.
wow.
So,
Well, look, I would entertain a motion to that what you're proposing is not a you know
It's not a substantial alteration of a
substantial
significant historic building.
alteration. Yeah, exactly. Anyone care to second that?
I'll second it.
Okay, all right. All in favor?
Well, wait. So we all decide, no more discussion? I just want to be clear, everybody had a chance to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah,
No, I'm all
Cool,
set.
okay, everyone's done?
Yeah.
All right, now I'm happy if we vote.
okay, all in
I
favor?
vote yes.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, all right. Okay.
Well,
Hans,
thank
go
you.
for it.
thank you very much. And so next step, so we can go ahead and then put a permit to move it to the building
Yeah.
inspector, right?
Nope.
That's,
Correct.
Pete
and
will take care of the
and
paperwork.
notice the building inspector that this is approved.
Yeah. Exactly, and all that should be fine. So,
Great. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much, and we'll invite you all to the opening.
oh my gosh. All right, that's great. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thanks a lot. Thanks for your time.
All right.
All right, see you at the town meeting.
Are you muted, Peter?